The picture we are doing today is a picture of one of the lakes we saw when we were up in Keswick last year. And it's got a nice collection of shading that I think will be interesting in pastel. I'm going to start at the top and come down the picture. It's what I normally do when I'm doing a pastel. One of the things I should mention, if you're doing a pastel, please pad the surface that you're working on. Pastels don't like, soft pastels don't like to be worked on a hard surface. If you're using oil pastels, you do need a hard surface. I know some of you might be thinking of using hard pastels, oil pastels. Right, so I'm going to start with the sky and get as far as the distant mountains, I think. My purpose is to do this part as a monochrome to start with, and then add the color once I know where everything is. So we begin at the beginning. Nothing like beginning at the beginning. I'm hoping to get varying shades of blue, and I'm pulling the pastel down in the hope that it comes right down here. The thing about pastel is you cover a lot of ground, don't you?
Real quick.
All right, so it doesn't matter if I go beyond where things are. Now, what have I got here? And what have I got here? I'm checking the pastels to see what the next one I need to use is, and I think it's that one. This is slightly lavender in color. I just want to mute this down a bit, so I'm putting the lavender over the blue. It will modify the blue a bit without changing it too much. It's fairly similar in tone, slightly darker. So I'm pulling the dark down towards the bottom of the picture. Then I will go to a slightly darker one. Right, that's better. Now I'm going to think about those distant mountains. And I want to use the side of the pastel so that I get a nice edge. Painting is all about edges, I remember George saying. If you get your edges nice, then you're in good odor. So again, I'm pulling it down so that the edge is kind. I can get a kind edge. That will please me. Well, it's got a bit previous with adventures there. I'll just correct that bit of adventure. And I think that edge is just a little bit sharp. So I'm going to just blend over it a bit with the purple that I was using, the lavender. Just so that it's there but not there. I don't want it to be in the pastel. I don't want it to be too prominent. Now, what I'm going to do next is to take a dark pastel. This is this dark, quite dark. I'm going to use that to put in these trees here, just as a shape, which I will alter when I add color to the picture. So we start up here. And I'm using it quite lightly comes down to about there. So I'm just putting it on lightly to suggest this collection of trees here. This edge is fairly straight. And we've got these trees coming up here. Again, although I've got it on its edge, I am attempting to just put a tickler paint on. It comes down quite sharply here. Could do with the dark. Which was the dark? Is it that one? Yeah. Let's pull that down a bit there. Let's pull it down a bit more. Right, because this collection of trees is on the mainland, if you like, and then the next collection of trees are actually just a little way further back. I think what attracted this to me is actually Mary Stewart's book about the Hollow Hills, where Merlin finds an island to hide the sword, and I think it just looks a little bit like that. Yeah, the old romantic here. So we've got trees coming up, lots of little trees. So I'm using the edge of the pastel this time, just to suggest those pointy trees. Some of them actually breaking the skyline there. Pull them down. Now, they're not all the same height, so you have to allow for a bit of drama. But that is actually quite solid there. This sort of sweeps around here, so it comes down to about there. The whole of this island working at this height is quite difficult. All these trees here are pretty much on the same height. They vary a little bit, but they're more or less on the same height. It's the trees in the foreground that the colourful ones that make the, and then we've got this area coming down here into the water. It comes down into the water there, so we can bring this down here. This does come down just a little bit more than the other. That is just like that. That's there. Right. That's fine. Then I'm going to put in, well, let's get this in. I think you'll find I've got more or less the same sort of shape here, just in monochrome, as I have on this picture here. Now, if we look at the reflections, never mind this sandbar, gravel bar in the way, just look at the reflections as if that wasn't there. They come down from the bottom of the island as far as they go up above the island. So that point will come down to about there. So I'm just going to pull that down. This comes down. Now this doesn't reflect because this isn't on water, it comes straight onto the gravel patch. So that piece is there. This comes down here. like that. If I get it the right distance, it's about there. I think this comes on a bit now. Right, it's about there. Now, if I take my lighter colour, I haven't changed colours at all. Once I'm set on my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tones, I'm sticking with those at the moment. Makes life a lot easier. This does have a brownie cast to it, but I'll put that in later. So if we take that and sweep it across there, and it comes round here. Oh, I missed a bit. This bit is reflected. It comes down here in the curve of the, oh, put it across a bit. Yeah. Right. So that goes across there. This comes down here and sweeps across here and then goes off the page. And we have sky colour down here. So I'll just do this. And then this comes down. So I've got the picture there pretty much the way I want it in about 5 or 10 minutes. There's a little bit of attention needed to the detail. This should come across more like that. Like that there. Right. So there we have it. There is the basic bones of the picture in about 10 minutes, I think. How are we doing for time, Rachel?
You've probably got about 10-15 minutes.
Right. So the next thing I want to do is, if I show you now, you'll be able to explore this when you're working on it, because you spend more time than I do. I want to introduce some of the warmer colours now into the tree, because it's autumn. It's autumn. It was August, wasn't it? October.
October.
So this is a brown of some description. And I don't want this set of trees to be too much of a focus. So I've kept the brown fairly muted. It's a reddy brown, which is rather a nice colour. I can add in a bit of dark green, I think. That's practically black. Right, this is a darkish green. So I can add that in. Add a bit of shadow, because I can point up that baseline. It's just added such a force to that now. Now, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do now. That's too light. It's a nicer colour. There are in this area here brighter shades that I can put in. And remember, if you put them in there, you've got to reflect them in the water. I think I'm going to colour, which is rather, it looks like a brown on top of the dark colour here. I'm going to add a bit of that to there, just where it comes into the picture here. And again, that comes into the reflection. Now, that has to go further back. It's a bit too prominent. It is part of the island, but it's further back than that. I think if I make that definitely go back there, very much darker. Break up this shape a bit. I want the bottom edge to be fairly straight, but I don't want the top edge to be a straight line. It doesn't hurt if it is in places, you know, but you just want to suggest that this is the water level. This is definitely attached to this island rather than this island. There is a bit of dark water there. I don't want it to be too dark. So that might be interesting. Finding the right tone for that. I wonder what I do there. I've got to find the right tone because it's darker over here too. It's not one of them. This is one of those things where you have all the pastels in the world and you still haven't got the right pastel. What is that? Practically that. If I just stick with what I've got at the moment, take this one. Right, that's beginning to come. I'll go back to my rusty colour. I want to make it as different as I can, so I'll put in some of the pinks as well in this area here, perhaps a little stronger. You can make this as strong as you like, this part here, because this is what's going to sing out and make the picture attractive to look at. The thing is to think autumn colours and then put in as many as you can find. So I should have a maroon somewhere. What I would call alizarin. I thought I had. I was quite sure I had. Waters. What that is? Well, that's quite a bright colour, which is doesn't have to be right. It's just got to be saying the right thing, isn't it? And again, goes in the water. Load a bit. I don't want it to be too mirror image. while I'm working it out. I think I can also lift some of the greens and make them a little bit more, because it is, after all, only October, so there'll be some of the summer greens still around. Yes, that's the whole idea. To get it a little bit misty. That will happen a bit more when I blur the edges in the water. You can thing about pastel is you can blur the edges very easily if that's what you want to do. It's not a difficult matter at all. There's some coming on here. I don't want this to be too coloured. So if we look after water, if you're working back into a dark colour, as I am, if you clean your pastel every time you go into the dark, you'll save putting dark marks in your light bit. It's a bit tedious, but it works. This is actually gravel, so you turn it into a sort of gravel colour. It's too dark. Nothing like so. No. That's darker too. I'm going to brush that off because it's not helping. In fact, I'm not too sure that isn't better. Just brushed off. I don't seem to be able to find the colour I want. Story of my life with pastels. That is too warm. That's a warmer colour. So this is the gravel down here. It seems to be the only bit I've got, this colour. So I'm going to have to go at it with my light. You can see. Right.
5 minutes.
Right, well, I've got the basic picture down. That's too blue. So what I will need to do next week is to crisp some things up to make it make this area much crisper and more of a focus. Blur this down, which you can do by rubbing it in with your finger and adjusting. Some of these colours in the water are too bright. The edge of the lake there isn't strong enough. It's got to be a sharper contrast. So I actually get a really dark contrast. What I need. Immediately sort of throws those indeterminate colours into some kind of focus straight up, and points up to the edge of the water nicely. And allows that to drift back there.
3 minutes.
Right, so the edges very straight. Right, if you can get the picture this far, you're in a good place because you've practically got your picture there, and you can ignore your source and start looking at your picture and making what you need to make this work the way that fired your imagination. This is one of the reasons why using your own photograph will make a huge difference. So if you haven't actually started to work on this and you want to find your own photograph of something similar, you'll find you work much better at it. Right, thank you very much. See you next week.